You're listening to Zen and the Art of Endurance, your podcast for getting great at going long.
Hey there, all you endurance studs and studettes, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Endurance, the podcast where we go long and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. Getting into the Zen Tribe Mobile Studios here after a nice 4,000 yard swim, but we're going to talk about something else first. I won 2 different bike races, which is absolutely fantastic. And also, I should mention up front that I do coaching. If you want coaching in Ironman, long distance endurance of any kind, trail running, open water swimming, gravel biking, all the good stuff. Triathlons, all different distances, all different disciplines. I'm your guy. So hit me up with an email at texafornia@gmail.com. I'll mention it again at the end. And the coaching somewhere in the subject and in the body, and then I'll find you. Okay, so I rode with my son in 3 races recently, and they're all 100K, so 62 miles, all put on by the same race production company, Capital City Racing, maybe, out of Austin. And they're really good. And one of them's pretty famous, the Milano Cookie Cutter, I think, or Cookie Crusher, Milano something. Anyway, Emily Joy Newsom did that one. And anyway, my son wanted to do some of them to sharpen his blade for gravel and get good at those and then move up to longer distances. And yeah, the longest distance is 62 miles. And the first one I did was the Wire Donkey. And I did mid-pack. And I was on a regular gravel bike and just kind of took it for fun. You know, it was a really cold and miserable day, and finished, mid-pack, or maybe better in my age group, and then just really enjoyed it. And so when the next one came up, I think we skipped one. It's a series. And the next one came up. I had done the East Texas Showdown 400 and destroyed my bike. So my bike was in the bike shop and getting the rear derailleur fixed. And I was like, well, I guess I'll ride. I dug my Nishiki, this 30-year-old bike, out of the garage. And that bike has lived 9 lives, man. It's been every kind of bike. Drop bar, flat bar, mountain bike, road bike, gravel bike, single speed, commuter. It's been everything. And it's a hybrid ATB, all-terrain bike, which was a thing in the 90s where they took road bike geometry pretty much, but then beefed it up a little bit to hold a mountain bike rear wheel. And so it's road size wheels. It'll hold 29ers, 700s, 29 inch. And so it's been this just bike that's been hanging around off and on. It's aluminum frame, so it's not terribly heavy or anything. It's just, something that's really a commuter more than anything, and meant for mixed surfaces. But back in the 90s, like it's probably 1995 is my best guess. And right now it has flat bars on it, and I've been wanting to experiment with flat bars. So I entered the I forgot. I'll remember the name of the race in a minute. Oh, Wheezy. I don't know why it's called that. Just let's go with it. And it's out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and it's rolling prairie and really nice. A wonderful race. It ended up being a beautiful day. And I decided, because it's a flat bar bike, they had a flat bar division. And what they do is they put flat bar and single speed in the same division for some reason. I don't know why. I personally think they ought to be separate divisions, but that's what the race director wants to do. The race director's name is Brett, so he's obviously a genius. So I'm just going to let it roll. And there was 3 of us in that division, and I won. And I beat the single speed guy, who's a legit decent single speeder, and became friends with him, and pointed out when I was on the top of the podium, he got second place. And then the third place guy had flat bars as well. but the like I did, geared and flat bars. But anyway, I pointed out on the podium, there's lots of photos of me pointing at Ariel, the guy that got second, but he was single speed, and the crowd was chanting single speed, you know, because that's pretty badass, dude. And even though our finishing times are really close together, it's because we got stopped at a train. So I beat him by like 5 minutes, let's say. Yeah, that's maybe 6. It doesn't matter. And the other flat bar guy I beat, if we hadn't been stopped by the train, I'm talking like it was like within eyesight of the finish line, because then the other 2 guys caught up. If I hadn't been caught by the train, then I would have beat him by like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes maybe. So anyway, the next race came up, and I was like, dude, I'm going to turn this bike into a single speed, back into a single speed, because I used to ride single speed a long time ago, and then I've done the MS 150 on a single speed, so I know how to ride single speed. And I was like, I'm going to show that I can actually compete. I didn't think I was going to win, but I'm going to compete in the single speed division for fun with flat bars. And the process took a long time to get that bike built up. I had to order parts, wait on them. I got another bike in the shop, and at the very last minute, the wheels I wanted to use, we couldn't make work. And at the very last minute, I'm talking 2 days before the race, so I just had 1 day to test ride it, we got it built up as a single speed. And the way you do single speed, in my experience, is you ride around on a geared bike and you learn what, by not shifting, what is the biggest gear that you can barely tolerate. And because what happens is it also limits your top speed, so you can only go so fast, and that sucks. And you can learn to climb in a hard gear, and then if it's too steep, then you can get off your bike and walk it, which is pretty rare. You learn how to do this. Well, then it ends up that the chain rings and the cog on the back and everything, I dug up from my old Kuwahara, which is the bike they rode in ET, the Kuwahara road bike that I built up 19 years ago. I built up a single speed and rode it in the MS 150. And it turned out I used the exact same gearing on gravel, which is interesting because gravel's harder than road. But, and then I put better grips on the flat bars, because there's this thing where the flat bars are sticking out with round grips, and that's really un-aero, and un-aero bothers me. And then for like pointless un-aero. And so I also have aero bars on this thing. And then so and my theory is, and I'm out on a mission possibly to prove this, because I think it might be true, that if you're either in the aero bars in gravel, or if you're not in the aero bars, it's because the gravel's too technical, right? And well, then you should probably, if it's that technical, then being in the flat bars is probably a really good idea. So like high speed descents with rubble and crap, and so then flat bars are actually not that bad. And also, in addition to that, single speed. Oh, and also like you're either drafting or you're in front or you're by yourself. And so if you're drafting, then flat bars are fine. If you're out in front, then aero bars are fine. And if you're by yourself, then aero bars are out and fine. So aero bars and gravel, like I think just go together like so well. So this really did work, and it worked really well when I won the flat bar division at the Lit Wizzy. And then up came this race that just happened, what did we call it? Oh, in Gonzales, Texas. Now I grew up going to Gonzales, Texas as a kid. My aunt and uncle had a ranch out there, and Gonzales is really out in the middle of nowhere. And we joked about going into town because there was nothing there. Well, now it's been through this revitalization and stuff, so the downtown's pretty cool. So it was kind of neat to go to Gonzales and ride this race. And now I'm going to ride it single speed, and I'm going to compete against Ariel and whoever else wants to show up single speed. I was not expecting to win against Ariel, but I do have aero bars, so that does give me an advantage. I think if I had the wheels that I wanted to use, I might have been able to possibly compete and beat Ariel. But I don't know. We don't know because Ariel didn't sign up. He's got better things to do with his life. So he's out setting up the Central Texas Showdown, and I follow him on Instagram now. And so he had things to do. So it ended up that, and I think there's a particular reason why I ended up being the only person in the single speed flat bar division at this race, which is because the race is just like all the other races, except there is this third of the race, so almost 20 miles, of some of the most steepest hills that you'll find in the area, all clustered together in a like 15 to 20 mile period, just one after another. There's 7 of them, just hammered. I got 10% grade, I think, maybe 11% grade on one, and I'm thinking like, maybe they didn't, maybe people don't sign up for this for single speed because it's kind of like gravel. You're always on the wrong bike, you know, because it's mixed surfaces. So if your tires are too fat, then the pavement sucks, and then the tires for the pavement that are good for that are actually really bad for the gravel. When I hit the hills of this thing, I was like, holy crap, man. But I knew it going into it that this was going to suck. And so I ended up being the only guy. And the funny thing was, I actually only ended up having to walk 1 minute of one hill. And it's because it was so steep and it was loose gravel rubble, because we had a really bad storm the night before. So there was lots of wash across the road. So lots of loose rocks and ruts. And I had 2 guys around me. And so I didn't have like free reign of where I wanted to go on this gravel road. I was kind of pinched in, and I was like, dude, I'm going to fall over and hurt myself. So I'm just going to unclip and walk it, because I was almost to the top anyway. And I look back at my time, and it only took a minute. So anyway, I came across the finish line, and turns out I was the only one that had entered. I was suspicious I was the only one that had entered. And it took me 4 hours and 15.5 miles per hour or something like that. And the rollout's like really slow for like a few miles, so that really hurts your average. And the race was awesome, and Kai had a flat tire at mile 45, and I understand why. Dude, it was really loose and rubbly. But so we're going to talk about the bike and the tires, my bike and the tires here in a minute. I get up on the little podiums, you know, that they have set up, and the race director flipped out when he saw my bike. He was like, look at this thing. This thing is so cool. That's like a 30-year-old bike. And you got aero bars and flat bars and single speed. Like, holy crap, this guy finished this race on this thing. You know, I was like, yeah. So on one hand, you know, I was the only one in the division, and that for this race. So yeah, I won single speed, but I got first place and last place. But I finished the race in a decent time on a battleship of a freaking bike, man. And everything's alloy. They're in this piece of carbon fiber sight on that thing. It's aluminum and steel and heavy. Dude, that bike's got to weigh 35 pounds, man, with everything on it. But anyway, I had a really, really good time. Now, how long I focus on single speed is, that's a thing, you know. With Zen, you're always realizing that you're caught between, not one, but two, you know, not two, but one, not always this, but that, but not always that, but this, right? And those places where you find yourself stuck in the middle are what defines your personality. When you end up finally deciding to make a choice, it shows who you really are, you know? And it's interesting. If I had all the money in the world, you know, I'd have a dedicated single. Oh, and the guy said, this guy built up his own single speed. And that took me off guard for a minute. And I remembered that, yeah, most people go buy a single speed, right? Building up your own single speed is actually like a cool thing to do with like an old bike. You find an old bike and then build it up as a single speed. It's like a project. And that's kind of like, that's like next level biking, you know, you build your own bike, you know, out of parts. And so that was kind of cool too. But anyway, if I had all the money in the world, I'd have a dedicated single speed. But what's interesting is I'm on the fence about, I really want a better gravel bike than the one I've got, because the one I've got, while it's really good, the rear tire clearance and the gearing is limited. It's a single front chain ring, and it is limited in the rear tire to 42, and you could probably squeeze a little bit bigger in there, and in the front I can get up to a 50. Well, this Nishiki I'm riding, it's got a 47, 48 in the rear. I could probably put a 50 in the rear, and that's really nice. And the geometry is spot on. Like, it's fine. It's totally great. And the front, I'd rather be riding a 2.2 because the 2.4 is overkill, but I've got a 2.4 inch mountain bike tire in the front, but it's one of Kai's old tires. And so it's worn down in the middle to not much left. So the resistance is actually, it's knobby on the edges and almost smooth in the middle. And so it offers like some suspension and cushion in the front. And so I'm like, dude, like, and it'll hold a triple chain ring, which is ridiculous. You only need a double nowadays. But I'm like, dude, I could spend a little bit of money and turn this thing into a double chain ring. It's currently an 8-speed, but really with a double chain ring, that's all you need. I could turn this thing into a double chain ring. I've got the front derailleur and everything, and have like the perfect gravel bike. And it's I'm suspicious that flat bar might be the way that I would like to go, since I ride in the aero bars all the time anyway, that when I find myself out of the aero bars, it's like, because I'm saying, oh shit. And like this one, I haven't looked to see my top speed, but let's say it was like 35, 40 miles an hour, and it was a washed out gravel road that was just destroyed from the days before storms. So it was golf ball, baseball sized rocks mixed in with pea gravel and mud and all kinds of crap. And flat bar is like what you want, because you can kind of press against it with both hands and maintain this control, and it's a little bit wider. And so anyway, that's that with the gravel racing. I don't want to go on about it too long, because the other thing is, most of this show is going to be audio from YouTube, because what I've been doing is videoing during my runs, talking about just this, that, and the other philosophy things, training stuff, racing review, and a little bit of triathlon news and endurance sport news while I'm running. In those videos, I'm realizing I've been posting them to Instagram, and I'm like, they're too long for Instagram. That's not why people are on Instagram. And so I've also posted a bunch of them to YouTube, and that's where people are fine with like a 20, 30 minute long video, even 10 minutes. And so what I can do is, and I've done this before, I capture the audio from YouTube, the YouTube videos, and pull it in to, this is a little bit how the cake is made. I pull it into Audacity, which is the software I use to make podcasts, and then pull that in, and plus what I'm saying now, like this recording right now, a little intro, and then boom, when I put the podcast out in audio form, and you get on, on iTunes or however you want to get it, then also a lot of it is on YouTube. So don't forget that you can go to YouTube. Zen Endurance is the YouTube channel with Coach Brett, or with Brett Blankner, however it's in there. And you can go watch when I'm sitting there going, oh crap, that car came really close, or hey, River's about to attack this other dog, or River's taking a poop, or like, cause usually we're on a run, or hey, this is the gear I'm using, or look at this watch, or whatever. Then you can actually go over to YouTube and see the video version of the audio that you're listening to. So we are multimedia. Okay, and then so we're gonna get to those videos in a second. And the other thing is, and I figure like that's just what I'm gonna have to do with this podcast. That's just what's gonna have to work for time management, because I got a full-time job and I'm doing this stuff. And then a little bit of talk about gear. I just finished a swim, beautiful swim, and I'm wearing the Form goggles, which reminds me I need to plug them in to charge them, which I don't think I will ever get used to saying. Let me make sure the connection's dry. And here in my Zen Tribe Mobile Studios, I keep the charger for my goggles because I have to drive to the pool, and I keep the charger for my goggles in the car, and they charge here. Oh wait, I'm talking into my goggles. I thought I was talking to my recorder. I was talking to my goggles. I'm gonna charge it, and boom. Maybe not. Come on, Form. There we go. The connection's a little bit shifty. It's something I always mention about full-size American pickup trucks. Maybe some other vehicles too, but they charge things, the charger ports work even when the truck is completely turned off, which is something that most cars don't do, which because trucks are made supposedly for working, and that's just what they do. And let's see, also, so I was able to have like this 4,000 yard swim, just swimming. I had a lane to myself. And so the goggles, Form goggles, have a head-up display in the goggles. It makes the goggles expensive, but I promise you it is so worth it because it shows you your distance, and you can have all these stats showing per lap. It's got heart rate if you want, and you can see all the stuff going on being measured, and then you can just swim. And there's even, if you're swimming open water, it'll talk to your watch that's got GPS in it and tell you, somehow like you can plug the course. I've never done it open water. You can just plug the course in and it'll tell you where to go while you're swimming, like give you directions. And I think this company ought to make sunglasses for biking and running, because it really works, and it's been working for a few years now. It's pretty good stuff. So anyway, I had this great swim where I can just kind of meditate and swim, because the other thing is I'm wearing earphones for swimming. So I have two pair. They're on my head right now. I've got, they're both made by Shokz, S-H-O-K-Z, Shokz. And one of them is, they're ones that are reasonably waterproof, water resistant. But I found, eventually I'll kill them with sweat, and they're water resistant. You do not want to wear these in the water. And plus Bluetooth doesn't work through water anyway. And then a year ago or so, I bought the swimming version. They look almost identical, but they're totally waterproof, and they also hold MP3s. Now the menu for selecting your MP3s and all that stuff sucks, but I just have a long kind of like meditative song, like this hip hop tempo kind of thing, just on loop, on repeat. And so that's what I just listen to while I swim, and it makes my mind just kind of drift. And so my swims become a meditative swim, but with music. And then through my swim, I have my phone next to the pool, and so you don't need Bluetooth, right? Because it's playing MP3 right from the headphones. And then between sets, I'll stop and make notes about things that I thought of for the day that I need to work on, or just interesting thoughts maybe to talk about on the show. And then at the end of the swim, I'm done. My head's above water again, so Bluetooth will work. So a long press on the multifunction button, the big button on the left side, switches it back to Bluetooth mode from MP3, and then I can continue listening to the podcast or YouTube video that I was listening to. And that's pretty cool. All right, that is that. And let's go ahead and switch over to some of the stuff from YouTube. So everything you're listening to for a while, I guess until the end of the show, is from YouTube videos that I've posted. So if you like them, it'll be mostly running. And if you like them, then go over to YouTube and subscribe and check out River, my running dog, and our fun that we're having out running, doing stupid stuff and talking how to be a better person, how to be productive, how to not let things bother you, how to get in more training, how to all kinds of things like that. And running tips also built in on our long, they're usually a 6 mile run around the neighborhood, and just dealing with life, right? And back at the end of the show with any little wrap-up stuff. And let's go.
Hi everybody, my name's Brett. I'm a triathlete.
I decided it's time I got some friends more suited to my status.
But Joe, we've been friends for years.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Come on, dudes, let's go exercise! Exercise! Yeah! I'm gonna do sit-ups till I poop myself!
All right, listen to the birds. So yesterday I made an Instagram post and I mentioned that I was not going to deal with trying to convert my bike to single speed because it was just one thing too many. And then after I made that decision, I just felt like this relief. A lot of times, a good way to make a decision is flip a coin, and if it lands the way that you wanted, you'll know that was the right thing. Anyway, but last night I started thinking about, I wanted to share how Zen is a lot about removal and not this and not that. There's a very famous saying in Zen, not Zen. When somebody's doing something, not Zen. I'm like, well, what is? Like, not that. And that comes somewhat from when the Chinese pre-version of Zen, here's where we practice trail running. We walk it so I don't trip in a hole and then break an arm. And then the walk break is useful, makes you run faster once you start running again. Now watch me trip and fall. Okay. Running through the flowers. Let's go to Magic Mountain, Charlie. But Japanese culture, especially at that time, was rich with discipline. That's all you hear about. Samurai warrior code and all this stuff. A lot of discipline is not doing things. Not this and not that. Remove, remove, remove. So you can see the combination of the culture and then the philosophy of getting down to reality and the real source of things is remove things and stop doing stuff to get down to your true self. Got a banana peel? Somebody's trying to make us fall down. And people get really frustrated trying to study Zen because there's also the combination of, they say it's not this and it's not that. You know, that's the wrong answer to the question, what's the sound of one hand clapping? That's not the right answer. Well, what is it? Well, not that. People get really frustrated. Well, the answer is really dependent on you and your real self, an original answer that's comes from you, and you can't have that unless you remove a bunch of stuff. That's possible. So if I told you what the answer is, then that's my answer, for example. And you can tell somebody's practiced in Zen by not having to give, I don't have to tell you the answer. I don't feel the need. And I'm okay with that. A lot of Zen is being okay with not knowing, right? Because how could you know anyway? You can't know everything. Are you okay with that? Or one time I was talking with Rich Roll and I said, you have to say you don't know what you're doing. And he looked at me and he was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or however he said it. And then we both just sat there and kind of stared at each other. I was like, yeah, me neither. Oh, it felt so good. Anyway, you have to be okay with that. We really don't know what we're doing until after it's done. Then you can define it, maybe, from that perspective. Look at the fog. This is kind of special. Hold on. Fog rising from the field. That's neat. But anyway, in Western culture, there's something similar that I thought about. That I learned from the Preppy Handbook, which is this hilariously good, insightful, tongue-in-cheek peek at the world of preppies and their whole culture. And the book's really hard to find. It's I think it's out of print, and it's published in the 70s. But there's this section about like old money versus new money. You can tell new money because they show it off. Old money doesn't advertise. So new money, or people that are desperate, will put their names all over everything and buy fancy stuff so you can see. And old money doesn't need to do that. And also to hold on, the reason they're old money is they've managed to hold on to it. So there's a little bit there of not making themselves a target. And keep it on the down low that they're wealthy. I had an uncle that was extremely wealthy, and he drove like a old Taurus wagon and wore overalls. You wouldn't know it. That's how you stay wealthy and don't lose it. Anyway, one of the things in the book that was really interesting was a guide on how to dress for parties. And so preppies are generally conservative. And the guide, this was for women, but it could apply, like, men don't wear necklaces or extra pinky rings or anything like that. But the real point was that the thing of note was the guide for women was get all dressed up, put on the amount of jewelry, so your necklace and your earrings and whatever, that you're gonna wear. Now remove one thing, one piece of jewelry, and that's how you dress appropriately, like old money. And with class is their point. And whether you agree with that or not, what's interesting, look at these flowers, man. So pretty. Yeah. Oh, hummingbird fuels. Oh, let's finish it off. Wait. Hold on. Hummingbird fuels. There we go. Whether you agree with that, preppy culture, it aggravates you. I love it. I learned a lot from it. It's pretty funny. I grew up in a mix of that. Like, we lived down the road from one of the world's biggest country clubs, and we could have joined. But my parents were like, well, we'd rather go sailing instead of spending our weekends at the country club. So, which one's more preppy? I don't know. Sailing? Probably. I don't know. I can tell you which one's more for introverts. Socializing at a country club or sailing with just a couple people out on a lake out in the middle of nowhere or on the ocean. So anyway, there's a fear that you feel when you remove one thing. You know, it was all perfect, but then you remove something. So while you're making that decision, it's hard. You're like, yeah, but I need to, you know. So to overcome that fear of removal, then when you go to the party, let's say a race or whatever, there's a feeling of lightness that you're not having to deal with that one thing, and allows you to function better. So when I was sitting there, I realized by putting my bike together and trying to figure out when I'm going to take it to the shop to figure out all the single speed stuff. But I'm on a bike that's already complicated with issues that are I'm unsure of and untested. And I'm like, you know, with practice, you start to realize the signs. And I was like, well, this is too much. Too much. And it came to my mind, both a mix of the Zen, what is Zen, not this, and the traffic lights make me think about roundabouts are also Zen. What's not Zen is this intersection with lights and complicated signs and all kinds of crap. When let's let this car go. Come on back. When a roundabout's just simple, you know, people are like, what are we gonna do without all the signs and the lights? What do I do? It's like, just drive, stay in your lane. And then also from the preppy handbook of simplify, remove the excess. We as humans push everything to the limit, and we don't know we're at the limit. I mentioned that the other day. We don't know we're at the limit until we've hit it. And it's too late. So one way to not hit the limit is just to remove something right here and right there. So, planning on racing this weekend. And I'm going to race it geared instead of single speed. And we'll see. I've entered a category called flat bar. Because my bike is a flat bar bike. So that's fun. That's one of the many complications, right? I'm already doing that. Okay. Let's get to the house and go to work. Bye. All right, let's get going. Freaks and geeks. Out on a long run. Going to talk a little bit about Taoism. And also not Strava, Zwift update that I think is really important for effective training. And on this nice little wooded piece, and all the birds that chirp like crazy when the sun comes up, they're all like locating each other. I had a thought, that must be really annoying to the owls. Owls have to be introverts, and they've had a long night's work and trying to relax, and all of a sudden there's all this racket. But it is nice to get up and out running. So we did, how far? Yesterday did 80 miles. It was 79.45, but who's counting? Kai looked at his number and he was like, dang, it could have just gone a little bit further and gotten 80. And then look at all the wildflowers over there. It's not as many right there. Anyway, so check out the hitching post there. And then the day before that did 61 miles. I think it was 61. Single speed. So yesterday started off going, oh man, this is rough. And then halfway through, there's a gas station at the turnaround point. I was like, you know what would help is some food. And how did I pick what I picked? And I got Oreos, because recently I saw a video where somebody was struggling for energy on a long bike ride and they ate Oreos and they said they felt great afterwards, and they did not mention upset stomach. And Oreos have fat in them, which slows down the sugar. Of course, it's the worst possible fat. But anyway, they also have, I saw a lot of snakes for the first time yesterday, River. We got to be careful. Also, something must have jumped off into the creek down there. Then I was wanting something salty, so why didn't I get potato chips? Well, potato chips definitely have so much grease that plus the Oreos would have been a bad idea. So in that situation, it's something salty but baked, which I believe it worked. So I guess I was right. Goldfish, cheddar flavored goldfish. I got lots of salt. And I sat there and ate that and let it settle for a minute. And then got on the bike and pedaled easy again. Took a video of a snake and then felt fine. It felt better. So then Kai caught me. He started way after I did, but I stopped for a long time. Taking pictures, videos, and of course, eating food at the gas station. But it didn't catch me till the very end, which was fun. That little rattle is River's squirt gun to keep them wet. Okay, come on. Oh, here we go. Mockingbird. And Taoism, spelled T-A-O, which has the yin-yang symbol. Is like the grandfather of Zen, one of the grandparents of Zen. And a magical version of it that we're all familiar with is the Force from Star Wars. That's where George Lucas got the idea from, probably. Pretty sure. But it's the recognition that things have a way of being and doing and working themselves out that's bigger than you. And if you pay attention, which would be more of the Zen part of it later, Taoism's at least 2,500 years old. Somebody finally, Lao Tzu, wrote a book, a pamphlet on what it was, because some guy asked. That's how chill Taoism is. And again, it's if... Also, I've learned, well, there's lots of interpretations of it, and then there's like your version of it, because your life is different than everybody else. As soon as you try to define it, then you're narrowing it down, and when it's actually, it's like so big that... Hold on a second. Okay, we're back. More peeing. River. But Taoism is learning to go with the flow, but realizing that everything has a flow to it. Not just the world, but everything. Like carpentry has a flow to it. Running your dog has a flow to it. Running this dog has a flow to it. It's different than the other dog. And some really good examples is from a long time ago. You do a current is going this way, so that's the right time to ship goods that way when you want to go with the current. And then when you want to take stuff back, this time of the year, that time of the year, the wind is blowing the other direction, so you pop up a sail and go the other way, and you let the flow of things not only do the work for you, but it's also a recognition that the flow of things is, I gotta go to here, that fighting against them is actually painful. So not only you don't fight against them, so we go back, work with them. And some really good examples are if you go surfing, there's a rip current, but people don't really know this, but a lot of people don't. It only goes out like 100 yards before it dissipates. So hop on the rip current and let it pull you out. And then you surf waves in. And then all of a sudden you can surf, instead of 1 hour, you can surf 3 hours and really enjoy it. And I need a little bit of fuel. It'd be like running in the morning and wetting him down with water. And then we can have a nice run instead of him getting overheated. And I thought of another modern example is you have a boat, a big ship. You don't know what to do with it. You need to scrap it. You want more fish. So the idea of sinking a ship to create a reef, to create more fish, is actually very yin-yang. Every problem has a solution that's kind of elegant in a way. There's two things I've noticed that it takes to well, if I run this run loop, one way, it hurts my knee. If I run it the other way, it doesn't hurt my knee because of the slope. Don't have to stop running. Just figure out a way to run that doesn't hurt. So, look at roses, bright. So two things I've noticed is that time, so that you can actually observe the pattern, is critical. Oh, let's go there. Everything has a pattern, but you're not going to know it without some time. And if you're constantly changing, then you can't notice the pattern. You can't notice the frequency of things that happen. Like every so many years, there's a recession. Every so many years, your office moves locations. Every so many years, somebody important, dies or something like that. And what do? And having experience with this stuff, right? The rip current happens every day. Or every time rip current happens every time the wind is strong from the south in the Gulf of Mexico on the Texas beaches. And if it's not strong enough, then it doesn't work. But you got to go a bunch of times to see it. Oh, okay. And another one is you have to be in not such a rush and take time, as you see me do a lot, to sniff the flowers, smell the flowers. And like walking him, the extra time it takes on my run, there he was peeing on everything, for him to stop all the time is the same amount of time that it would have taken for me to go walk him separately anyway. Come on, let's go, come on, let's go. Or he'll stay in one place forever unless you pull him along. But, so yeah, it takes longer to run with him, but it's time I would have spent anyway. And that's the balance of the force. And another one is, for example, a lot of it is not needing things to go exactly your way. So you can observe how things work out anyway. And with Kai, he needed to sleep in. He's a young guy and he needs to sleep, his little baby sleep. And I appreciate that. And have fun at night, go out. So I woke him up as I was getting ready to leave because he was dead asleep. I said, hey, I'm leaving. And then I used some technology to text him and told him where I was going. And then it was implied, like try to catch me. And then I got my ride in and then we finished together. And then also, so we didn't have to leave at the same time, and me get frustrated that he's not getting up. Let's get into an argument or something like that. With endurance sports, I've learned you'll never get anything done if you worry about other people, what they think. Because, and I don't think being an endurance athlete is special. I think it's what humans were actually meant. I'm being normal. And just being patient and waiting for other people to figure it out. I'm not even trying hard, and biking X amount and running X amount and swimming X amount. It's just casual. And then it makes you like super healthy. Come on. And happy. But anyway, so because I left on my own schedule, it worked out that I got to try out Oreos. I had the time to try out Oreos and what was the other one? Goldfish as a fuel to see if it made me feel better. And it did. And time to take a video or two of a snake and save some turtles. And then I'm happy. And it all works out. That's one of the beauties, I think, of multi-sport is my bike's in the shop because I broke a spoke yesterday. But I can go run or I can go swim and I'm not stuck. Anyway, that's this morning's video of the flow. Pay attention and you can see it happening all around you. Start to notice how there's a balance. Things, it's like the Even Steven episode of Seinfeld. And notice, here's our water fountain, that everything seems to work out. It's kind of weird. All right, bye. All right, homies, let's have some fun. Just turned on the recorder on my Camelback shoulder strap. We're gonna do some gravel riding through a local park. It's kind of semi-single track and some of it's really rough. Got a little bit of wind noise first as we descend in the drop. And I'm in the aero bars, even though it is not champagne gravel, but it's straight. You gotta turn. All right, there we go. Now we've leveled out. So today's ride, I'm on the Nishiki with a 2.4-inch mountain bike tire on the front and a 47 gravel tire in the rear. With flat bars and aero bars. And even on pretty rough stuff, I can ride the aero bars if it's straight. If I'm going into a headwind. And today's ride is, this is audio only, this won't be on YouTube. Here's some really rough stuff, which I can do because of the bigger tires and the flat bars. I go from triathlon TT bike to mountain bike, back and forth like no problem. It's kind of cool. And then Kai is following me. He's starting 10 minutes after me because I got up earlier than he did and got ready. And he's faster anyway. And I'm riding single speed, 48 chainring, 18 tooth rear, unclip, put a foot down in that turn. Tires are washing out a little bit. And then that slows me down. The single speed slows me down, but I'm really enjoying it right now. Coming up behind you. Yeah, dude, this gravel is rough. And it's one of these parks where they add gravel every once in a while, so it never gets packed down and smooth. There's always like on this one trail that I'm on right now. And going over a bridge, over a creek, a little bit of sand. Tires held it nice. The cool thing about gravel is you can add in, even if your road ride is 50% road and 50% gravel or even less, adding in the adventure and the nature and a little bit of technical really changes your ride, makes it way more fun. I'm looking forward to the ride all week, and that's what you want. Straight section of gravel, so I get in the aero bars. So, oh my God, oh, this is too rough. Back into the flats. Oh, that's gnarly. Okay, a little bit smoother. We've had major storms, and it's kind of gnarled the trail system a little bit. So Kai's following me, and for the first time, he's riding with the camera mounted to his handlebars so that he can start videoing and get more exposure as a pro racer. And I've got an Insta360. Okay, now we're gonna hit some sand. Oh, and debris. And now it's single speed, so I'm gonna have to really work it out. We're going uphill, by the way, out of the creek bottom. Morning. It's a lady walking her dog. I'm getting more and more used to single speed, where I got on the bike and was pedaling along. And then after like a minute, I was like, oh, I should shift gears because it was hard. Stand and pedal. 364 watts, 373. But the interesting thing is it took me like a minute to be like, oh, I'm on a single speed. I can't shift. When you first start single speeding, it's like immediate, like, ah! So when you start forgetting, that's my advice on being injured too. You know you're not injured anymore when you forgot you were injured and you had to remember. Like somebody goes, hey, didn't you have like a bad knee or like a broken collarbone or something? Like, oh yeah, a little sip of water using hummingbird fuels and their super cool water bottle. Cadence just 52, but 250 watts. That's kind of cool. I like this. I'm just going to be reading off numbers to y'all. I've been passing quite a few people like with cameras and stuff, bird watchers. All right, I'm going to get to where it's windy for a while, so I'm going to turn off the recorder. Come back. All right, we're down at the Navasota River bottom. Let me get this. Edit that out in post. All right, we're down at the Navasota River bottom. I got Kai with me. He's finally caught up. And you're doing 5.5 hours?
I'm doing.
All right, and I'm single speed and he's not, so it's going to be interesting. You can try doing the same gear I'm doing. Try to match up.
What gear is it?
You're 16 tooth.
I don't know which one that is. Just looking at it.
Probably your third cog. We can ride side by side and then match up our cadence. So the road is flooded. Couldn't make it all the way down to the Navasota River. The river made it up the road halfway to us. Yeah, that was an insane amount of rain. So yeah, Kai's learning how to use the Insta360 so he can video races and interesting stuff. The thing is, it is a complicated, they're both user-friendly, but there's so many options and it's touchscreen, so there's a million ways to screw up like what your goals are. And believe me, I've done it. Accidentally deleting recordings, accidentally using the wrong settings. And like one thing off the top of my head is we didn't recalibrate the stabilization, which you should do before every ride. But maybe it's okay. We'll do it at the post office for water. And there was a couple things I wanted to talk about. One was doping. I was getting ready this morning, and the Roadman podcast had this interview with this billionaire guy who's trying to promote, the drug legal Olympics or cycling or whatever, I don't know. And he said something that really set off alarm bells. And this is after he was going on about how he hangs out with his billionaire friends, all this other stuff. And later in the show, he was talking about how he travels between New York and London. So he's like living a life that's like not at all in touch with normal people. And when you learn about Taoism, you learn that the universe, the world, everything has a flow to it. And like if you pull up on a plant to try to make it grow faster, you kill the plant, for example. So mankind does not need to be shoved down the road. People, humans, the reason we're the top species, we think, is we're always pushing innovation naturally. And he said the poisonous, toxic phrase where he wants to accelerate the advancement of mankind. And that's just got red flags all over it. See, billionaires have this problem, as we've noticed, is they think they're geniuses because they get surrounded by other people that just worship them because of the money. A billionaire is, let's say I'm just guessing, 5 to 10,000 times wealthier than the average person. So they think that they're brilliant. What they actually are is lucky. They're probably smart. Some billionaires aren't smart and they just inherit money. But they are not 5 to 10,000 times smarter than you or me. That's like an impossibility. Einstein was like 5 times smarter or something, than you and I, if that. So billionaires get this idea in their head because they're thousands of times wealthier than the average person. They think they're thousands of times smarter and that their ideas are pretty dang good.
The camera's fucking really tight.
How's it loose? Oh, really?
I didn't tighten it super tight because I thought I was going to miss.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to stop it here.
Okay, I'm going down Lone Star Road and back. Yeah, see, Kai's already noticed that with the GoPro mount, he didn't tighten it down. He tightened it down the amount he thought. Turns out it's too loose and the camera's going to come undone. So he's stopping to fix that. So the chances that one person, their vision of how the world should be, out of, what are we at, 7 billion people? Because he wants the world to be the way that his closed, like I mentioned, the richer you get, the more you get surrounded by people that are disconnected from society. So his idea of what society should be is flawed inherently just by math. The chances that his idea is the right one for everybody is 1 in 7 billion. And that's not good numbers. Like an Elon Musk is like, oh, we need to send everybody to Mars. All of a sudden, you got all these experts that are like, that's a bad idea right now. That ain't gonna work. Why not? Well, because of this, this, and this. And then they'll just start rationalizing excuses to make their idea happen. Now, some of the ideas are good, whatever. But anyway, and that's 1 out of 7 billion for humans. There's a whole lot of other creatures, things living on this planet that you're assuming that you know what's best for them as well. And we're all an ecosystem that depends on each other. So what's the solution? Because I'm sitting here bitching about this, saying this is stupid. And to watch out for this kind of mentality. I just turned down a gravel road into a headwind. You might hear it. If you go back to what I was saying initially, humans by nature are always pushing stuff organically. So all you have to do is just set up an environment where we can move forward, but just leave things alone. And with 7 billion people being humans all trying to improve stuff daily, every minute of every hour of every day, advancement is already happening. The idea that you need to accelerate it is the language of really scary people in history that did a lot of damage. We need to run these people out of our country, eliminate this race. You know? Things don't need accelerating. They happen. Russia put up the first space probe. We naturally were like, crap, we got to do that too. You know? Human ingenuity. It's like, oh, this guy has figured out how to grind corn flour with a water wheel. I'm going to hook up an engine to mine. You know, it's happened already. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I forgot what the guy's name was, but it's on the Roadman podcast. I'm doing 231 watts into the wind in the aero bars on a gravel double track. It's straight, so I can be in the aero bars. With a 2.4 inch mountain bike tire on the front, I got plenty of footwear, so I can be in the aero bars and the headwind doesn't bother me. And on the way back, I'll sit up and have a tailwind. Get the best of both worlds. Give my back a break from riding in this single speed like that. Single speed U-turn on a narrow gravel road is always interesting. Okay, so then they're arguing about, you know, what's safe in sport, and the guy is like talking about how, you know, it's a monopoly by this one, by WADA, World Anti-Doping. And you go see my comment on the video on YouTube is, well, you have to have one governing body, because imagine if you had two, and then you have conflicting rules, right? So then what you do is with the one governing body is you make sure that there's elections and there's the ability to change the rules for equipment and drugs and stuff as society moves forward, and it adapts at an organic pace. I need to drink some water. You know, and then sports is full of stuff where you ban things because the safety risk, right? Caffeine is self-limiting. So caffeine's okay up to a point. Cars have helmets in racing. There's some technical gravel right here. I was trying to think of another example. You know, you can't wear jewelry or certain types of spikes in football, soccer, so you don't hurt somebody. There's logical rules for safety. And as society changes, you know, the rules will change. It's fine. We didn't used to have disc brakes in road bike racing, and now we do. It takes a little while to kind of flesh out, is this actually safe? And in the case of steroids and cocaine and whatever else, we've deemed that the possibility for abuse is so strong because people will push themselves to the limit. You know, yeah, a race car without a helmet is faster. But until we come up with something better, then, whatever. And so, yeah, WADA has like this, I'm writing no hand sounds. WADA has a monopoly control, I guess, over doping controls. But as long as you allow for the movement of the rules and the elimination of people governing the rules, it will adapt to the natural organic pace of what people are doing. So anyway, I encourage people to go listen. Car back. Cyclist going the other way. Go listen to this guy's interview, the Roadman podcast. And just notice the hypocrisy and the trying to create the world in his vision, where we know that's best left up to people that are normal people, somewhat by committee and a democratic process. Not entirely, but somewhat, He's like, everybody, I was at this fancy dinner, everybody was on Ozempic. And the guy interviewing him's like, well, I can tell you in the real world, not everybody is on Ozempic, And sports is supposed to reward the genetically gifted and the people that work hard. If somebody's naturally skinnier than somebody else, well, then they win. There's plenty of natural selection going on already. We don't need this craziness. But anyway, it was a Corvette the other way. Out on a Saturday morning drive with the top down. Okay. And then lastly, the thing I want to talk about is, what was it? Drew Dillman put out a video about gravel tires. Oh, and I want to go over this bike spec some more. Like, what's the future of this bike? So for off-road stuff, metal is not the worst material. Carbon is probably, even though it's the lightest, carbon is the most likely to break. So aluminum, titanium, steel, magnesium. If you have a suspension fork, the legs are probably made out of magnesium. So magnesium is plenty tough. But metal holds up better than plastic. And for off-road, turns out that's not the worst idea, right? And so this bike, this Nishiki, I did some research, found out it was probably sold in the 90s in Sweden, and that's why it's blue and yellow, the Swedish colors, maybe. And I'm going downhill in aero position. And it's not steel, it's aluminum, so it's plenty light. There's nothing wrong with steel. I like steel bikes a lot. But it's inexpensive, plenty light. And I'm really enjoying this. Oh, hey, how's it going? Did it tighten down okay?
Yeah.
How's it handling with the bouncing of the gravel? Hasn't moved? Okay.
I mean, the gravel probably loosened it up a little bit. And that's
The vertical?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
The vertical, the out front. Did that move?
Oh. Would it move?
Did it move?
I never had it out front.
You've got it out front right now, hanging off the front of your bike. Has that sagged?
Oh, this?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Let's talk about this.
No, but you've hit some pretty rough stuff at good speed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At the Milliken Post Office, we need to calibrate it. We forgot to do that for stabilization. Before every ride, you set it on its end and hit calibrate stabilization, and it calibrates the gyroscope. Remember when I first got it, the videos were real shaky?
Yeah.
And that's what fixed that. So that camera, what's cool is if you shoot in 360 mode after the fact, because it's shooting 360 degrees around you. After the fact, in the video editing software, you decide what you want to publish as your video. So if somebody crashes in front of you and then you pass them, you can actually pan the camera afterwards. And then see them behind you. It's pretty cool. Another cool thing about training single-speed kite is it forces you to up your cadence sometimes. So it's got built-in like high cadence drill. Like I have to do 90, 100 RPM. Oh. I'm going to draft off time. So we're about to go up one of the bigger hills in the area. So I'm going to get just decimated in my big gearing. And the handlebars on this bike are flat bar, and I love it, but they're modern flat bar mountain bike, so they're excessively wide for gravel. So I'm probably going to cut. The thing is I've got adjustable grips, the kind you bolt down, and I can move everything in. This is really cool. I can move everything in and see what I like. And then when I'm all dialed in, kind of like, when I'm all dialed in, I can cut it. It looks stupid right now. They're hanging out 1.5 inches on either side. But you know, after a few weeks of riding and adjusting the grips left, right, or in and out, inboard, outboard, we're going under a bridge with sparrows. Okay, it's going to get steep. I'll read off some numbers for you. We're on pavement, 65, 70 mile an hour highway, no shoulder. This is where the rear radar and gravel tires are wonderful. Okay, 55 RPM, 300 watts, pulling up on the pedals as well. If you get way back on the seat, it extends your legs a lot more. It allows you that extra range to actually pull up instead of push down. There's some roadies going the other way. 322, 323, heart rate 134, nice and low. Speed 13.5, it's probably like a 4% grade maybe. Cadence is climbing back up, we're starting to level out. So what's so cool about Singlespeed is you work harder on the hills, but then it's easier, and you have this recovery on the flats, and it's cyclical, it's self-reinforcing. It allows you to go harder on the hills again because you're going easier on the flats and the downhill. So the big question is am I going to stick with this bike? This 30-year-old, I was doing research. If y'all want to Google it yourselves, 401 Nishiki seems to come out of Sweden or Finland. And I love it because my biggest genetic makeup is Swedish and then German. And I'm 6'3", blonde. I look Swedish. When Kai went to Sweden as a kid, everybody thought he was Swedish. He's blonde hair, blue eye. Anyway, so Drew Dillman put out a video, and I like it when he does his own stuff because he doesn't hold on to ideas too strongly. And he did testing and testing and testing, and of what tire widths are actually fastest. Now there's, just off the top of my head, a couple of flaws, and he admits there's all kinds of flaws with this testing. When you do stuff like this, in the end, it's the real world that'll tell you whether something works or not. But all kinds of tire widths, started messing with tire pressures. The Singlespeed is forcing me to ride at 83. And I like it. That's like the perfect competitive road riding cadence. 209 watts, 83, 86, 15. Got some vultures, some roadkill, yep. And what were the two flaws? Oh, one is the assumption, what he was noticing was tire pressure, right? And then, well, the very first thing was the assumption that you should ride the same tire on the front as the rear, where in every sport, it seems, with the exception of cycling, I believe cycling is so polluted with nostalgia, road cycling especially, nostalgia, and this is the way things should be. You have to do it the classic way. That every sport, motorcycles, car racing, high performance street cars, go-kart, I mean like everything. There's a nice road view coming. Nice fast downhill. I think once I hit 20 miles an hour, it's not worth pedaling anymore. Like the gearings. Is it? Dude, in mountain biking, they'll run a different tire in the front than the rear. You know? It was so cool about when triathlon came around and it didn't have the UCI rules so strict. They have some basic rules, but triathlon allows people to experiment with stuff. but not drugs. And within safety limits. Kai's worked his way to a few hundred yards up ahead of me based on that hill climb he got. But something interesting happened. Like I said, the natural flow of innovation happens anyway. Gravel bikes still frequently have more tire clearance in the front than in the rear. So doing that, and people trying to go as big as they can, they've realized that the tire in the front matters way more than the rear. Gotta climb. Should I stand and climb? I'm okay. And just like on a mountain bike, I figured out first, front suspension first. You don't see mountain bikes with rear suspension and no front. You know? For handling and control, you want front suspension first if you're gonna invest in anything. So, with gravel, like I'm running a 2.4 in the front and it's giving me front suspension, but I don't have to run a 2.4 in the back. I'm running a 47 in the back to put down the power, and the rear wheel is following the bike, right? Just like your body follows the head in swimming. It doesn't need the control with all the extra tread and the width and stuff that the front needs, because the front is steering. And that's why front wheel drive is better than rear wheel drive in snow and ice, is the front wheels matter a whole lot more. I gotta get water. I gotta get water, and let's recalibrate gyroscope. I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. Anytime you want to try it, dude. Oh, Lord. Do you have a hacksaw? We're going to cut these down eventually. So I'm saying, do you know where it is?
Do I have one?
All right, we're about to cross over the railroad tracks. The good thing about that camera, I realized after using it a lot, was you kind of, after you have like a near miss and you happen to catch it on video, somebody yelling at you, or what was that? Is your saddle open? I think I saw his saddle open and I forgot to tell him. Well, I'll wait to tell him that in a second. So what was I talking about? Oh, tire width. How long has it been open? Okay.
I thought I had to disc it.
Oh, okay.
But then,
Yeah, so riding with that thing a bunch of times and then recording a couple near misses, you know?
yeah.
You're like, dude, we should be riding with dash cams on all the time. And you know, companies make that.
Yeah,
But it got to be where I didn't want to ride without it, kind of like the rear radar. Because I was like, if somebody does something, I want to catch it on film.
Yeah, the new Garmin rear has a camera in it.
Yeah. But eventually we'll get to where there's enough battery life where it can just record constantly. And then you can press a button and say, hey, save the last 30 seconds after something happened. You know what I mean?
That's what the dash cams do.
Yeah.
Plug in the whole thing.
And also, like, if you honk the horn, they'll start recording. There's another setting. Watch out, they're on the wrong side of the road, like that. Speak of the devil. Somebody driving down the wrong side of the gravel road too fast, right at us. Oh yeah, like getting chased by dogs. Yeah? Yeah?
Before the gravel starts?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Tan.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, mom's like, oh, he's sweet. Oh, look at doggy. And I'm like, fuck, nuh-uh. And so on the way back uphill, I grabbed a big stick, like a really long one.
Yeah.
Just in case. And she's like, what are you doing? You don't need to do that. I was like, dude, that dog is serious, man.
Yeah.
Car up. Letting Kai pull ahead so I can talk freely without feeling self-conscious. So, yeah, what was I talking about? Tire widths, different stuff. There was something else big I was going to talk about. I was talking about cameras. I tell you, after doing that race last weekend where it had these massive hills in it, today feels super easy. I tell you, it's incredible training, single speeding. Yeah, so the future of this bike, I guess, while I think about whatever I was going to talk about with tires. Oh, I remember the big thing. Kai and I, we have the exact same vast gravel bike, right? And for a while, we were riding the exact same tires when the bikes were newer. And, you know, as a 50-year-old guy, and he was like 17, I weighed like 20 pounds easily more than he did. And so we're riding along in East Texas, and there's sections where there's like a little bit of softer gravel, a little bit of sand, mud. And so the other flaw in the test is assuming that, you know, what's the fastest gravel tire has nothing to do with your weight. When it does, it has everything to do with your weight. So in cars, like my truck, or if you have an electric vehicle that's real heavy with battery. Okay, we're descending down into a creek bottom. We're going to do a U-turn up here. By the way, so I'm unclipping one foot so I can do a U-turn. A cool training tip is put wax chain lube, like squirt, on your pedal cleats. And you will be able to clip in and clip out so much more reliably.
So back.
Doing that race with those big hills, single speed really made me a little bit stronger.
What? Stronger?
Yeah. Like the first time I rode this in this gearing, I was like, oh my God. But after doing those hills, I forget that I'm in single speed half the time. Yeah, I'm gonna get behind you. Oh shit. I forgot to turn on my bike computer after you dropped your tool.
Autopause.
Yeah,
Slow though,
yeah,
you know?
duh.
It was think you're always stopped.
Is that how it is? Yeah. Yeah, so
Inside line.
there goes Kai. Yeah, so a couple things there. It's getting rock strikes on the cranks and the down tube. And a carbon bike, you're kind of like, eh. A metal bike, you're like, eh, whatever. I mean, it sucks for the paint, but it looks like fun. And then the turn came up faster than I thought it would. So I actually had to use the brakes. And this bike is a rim brake, but it's got a V brake on the front. So it's got, when those things first came out, holy crap, we were flying over our handlebars. You have to, just like riding a bike, you have to learn how to modulate your power. Okay, so that was a pretty severe, fast, left-hand 90-degree turn off camber. And because I was riding a front tire that had plenty of grip, it was like no big deal. If the rear tire starts to slip out, it's actually kind of fun. Rear tire slipping out is a whole different problem. I just kicked the cup. Drifting is racing. You gotta let that rear tire slip out a little bit. It's kind of fun. Now you know the limits of your traction. Front tire slips out. You got it. Oh, go right. Right. I think people think that weight matters so much more on a bike. In the wheels, it kind of matters, but every other part of your bike, it really doesn't matter. Aero matters first. Let me hop over a gutter there. People spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to save half a pound or a pound on their bike, when you could save $1,000 and just eat a little bit less if you're overweight. Like, what's your ideal body weight and how many people are like that? Then you can start thinking about like carbon. I'm not talking trash about carbon. I've had several carbon bikes. I love them. So like, you shouldn't get hung up on it if you're doing off-road, especially. I think with decent geometry and then a modern saddle that's got some TPU in it, Google it, and then modern tire pressures and a decent tire, all the benefits of carbon being a better ride are kind of negated. If money was no option, yeah, but like, you shouldn't get like pissed off or jealous. I've got silicone grips and then CG's elbow pads that are foamy neoprene, and then an ergon saddle that has TPU in it. And then I'm riding 20, I'm a heavier guy, so 23, crossing over some railroad tracks. Dude, with bigger tires, I used to have to be so careful on those railroad tracks. I just rolled over. That was so cool. Right turn. It's basically like, I think about this a lot. For low maintenance and lightweight and ease of use, elastomers, like what's in the suspension stem of a Redshift suspension stem, and cheap mountain bike forks, just elastomers, is plenty. And so with silicone grips and fluffy elbow pads and a TPU saddle and low tire pressure, you got it pretty well covered. Dude, I'm averaging a pretty good pace. I lost about 10 minutes because I forgot to turn off my bike computer, or turn it on. I stopped it because Kai dropped a tool. Okay, now I'm having to stand and climb. We got a decent hill right here. It's short, but 6% grade, something. There's a green snake. Saw a copperhead the other day. .48 RPM, 250 watts, 260. Yeah, a lot of people don't use clipless because they think they can't get out of the pedals fast enough. But if you just use wax chain lube on your cleats or on your pedals, You get in and out so easy. And because it's wax, it'll last quite a few rides. And then next time you lube your chain, like I found like every third time I lube my chain, just a little dabble of wax on the cleats or on the pedals, one or the other. Does the trick. Are you gonna shove off me? Okay, I'm hitting a top speed downhill. Gravel, champagne gravel right here. Aero bars. Put down some power and get behind Kai to draft. Hey, where's your radar? Where's your radar? Okay. Why? Can I have it? No. Oh, well, you're acting like you don't want it. Oh, you don't have your radar. I can sneak attack. I was pedaling right there while putting down power, or while holding the brakes down, letting the power overcome the brakes. So for perfect modulation in between. It's a cool trick. I learned that it's a common thing. When I used to pull boats when I was a kid out of a boat ramp. I had this big boat. And my mom told me, she was an awesome driver. She was like, it was her station wagon. Hold down the brake, give it gas until you feel the car pushing over the brake. And then slowly release the brake and let the gas overpower the brake. And that's the perfect amount. And if it starts to spin out, you've already got your foot on the brake. So I've learned to be a faster off-road cyclist. A lot of times you put down power so you're in the right gear while applying pressure on the brakes in a turn. And then as you come out of the turn, you let up off the brakes more. And you're already putting down power. It's like an efficiency thing. It's really cool. I hit 27 miles an hour. Probably 130 RPM. Passing time down there. Just gonna drop this up a little bit. Here you go. What happened? Where were you? You're like, hey, have you seen Kai? Are you his emergency contact? Did I look like an old guy trying to run really fast?
Yeah. Not going anywhere. You're like that guy on Instagram that runs into food burgers.
Yeah. All right. He's a, what is that? Insane Clown Posse. They have the name, Juggalos. That's what they call themselves. Juggalos, yes, Juggalos and Juggettes.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah.
That's what he was calling himself.
Yeah, he's all into the Insane Clown Posse. ICP. Those guys are like the MS-13 of heavy rock. They're like freaking out of their mind. And it's an agreed contract to be freaking crazy. Riding no hands, picking up a crosswind. Man, your rear derailleur's loud. Listen how silent my bike is. Yours is just clicking. Oh. I was like, with me? What are you talking about?
they're building a gas station by the Indian Lakes entrance.
What? Oh, the one by the freeway?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I could see that.
Too bad I'm not going to it. We don't make stops around here.
Yeah. That's why I quit riding with the local bike club. I was like, y'all stop every 5 minutes. How are you going to train for an Ironman where you got to put down consistent power for 5 hours? And that's a fast time. Stop every 30 minutes. I'm pretty good with this gearing, huh? I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, wait till we hit this hill coming back the other way. Into a headwind. I'm going to be like, oh. There you go. So one thing, single-speed culture, fixie culture, is you make fun of people with derailleurs about how their bike's making racket, how heavy their rear end of their bike might be. It's all kinds of fun. Average normalized power, 202. Oh, remember, I forgot to record about 5 to 10 minutes. Probably more like 5. And there was a hill in one of those. Oh, so back to gear, right? Or tires. You're like, you take like a 45 rear and a 2.1 front, then you're averaging like a 48 or 50, right? And that's what they find out is like kind of like the fastest tire. Or like a Kai's bike, he's doing a 48 front and a 42 rear. Well, that averages out kind of about to a 45, but then he's getting the control in the front. Oh, there was something really interesting in pro racing where they're going lighter wheels in the back because aerodynamics doesn't matter in the back. So they're doing shallower rims in the back to lighten up the bike for hill climbing. It's really interesting. So like the front rim is deeper dish than the rear. Okay, big descent. We're about to hit gravel. 30 miles an hour. Going from ultra smooth asphalt to washboard gravel. And then we're going to record the end of this road, and then I think we're done. Because everything after that is mostly going to be a headwind. So another cool trick I've learned there is one of the upsides of fatter tires is with gravel racing, a lot of times you're going in and out of dappled sunlight. So it's like, sunny and then dark. And a lot of times when it's dark because it's a creek channel and the road can be rough suddenly in there. And a fatter tires, and especially a fatter front tire, reduces the risk of losing control of the bike when you hit something that you couldn't see. Like, at gravel, I learned like you really don't need suspension. Suspension's nice. But when suspension is really nice, is to take the edge off surprise hits that make you lose control. So like a pothole, or you're drafting off of somebody and you hit a big rock. A lot of times you can't see potholes or something, or rocks, because of the texture of the road or the sunlight or something. Okay. Riding no hands. I don't know if it's because it's flat bars, the bars stick out, kind of like a guy walking a tight wire. You got the pole to help balance yourself. The bar's sticking out sideways. provide just a little bit more extra controlled balance. So it's a little bit easier to ride no hands, which allows you to stretch out your back. And adjust things and move things around. During the race, I made sure to prevent my back from seizing up, from going hard on hills and headwind, race pace. With a single speed, it's a really good way to, strain your back. I made sure I mixed in sitting upright and riding no hands as much as possible whenever I had a tailwind and smooth pavement. And I've noticed on this bike, okay, well now we're out in the cornfield. So it seems easier to ride no hands on this bike. I think because of the weight distribution of the bars. There's not as much out in front. Rough gravel. There we go. I think they re-gravelled the washout. Okay, so then last thing is, with all the tire testing, second to last thing, Kai and I are riding on the same bike, same tire width. And when things got soft, I would be significantly slower or end up stalling on the bike because of my weight. It was sinking the bike, And everything has like a breaking point, a threshold. And so there's a threshold with 45 width tires, let's say, of what weight floats over sand and what weight sinks. So Drew and Dylan Johnson's tests and all this advice on what tire to use applies to their body weight and also the faster you go, the more you fly over stuff and don't sink. So there's that. So I actually do better on a little bit wider tires than Kai does, because I weigh 20 more pounds probably. I think I weigh 15 more now. Lost some weight. And then last thing to wrap up this recording, what am I going to do with this bike? Because I think I've discovered a real jewel. Because I can double chain ring it, geometry's fine, and it holds tires that are big enough for me. I'm riding rough. It is no problem. And so do I park the VAS for a little bit? Do I turn the VAS into a single speed? I turn this into a fully geared race machine. We're gonna try it? Let's see. Okay, so now we're gonna go down. So stay tuned for the show and find out. Okay, we're gonna ride down. I think it's okay. This road that turns into peanut butter mud if it's wet, and there's a couple of low spots in it. So if I go first and I got better tire clearance than Kai does, then I can do the test run. Yeah, it's at that stage where it looks wet, but it's dried. So it's like this dark, like it's wet, but it's crusty. All right, so You've joined us all the way from the Navasota River, probably 15 miles or so, to the Brazos River with a tailwind, mostly. And, oh yeah, the other thing about this bike I'm not a big fan of is it doesn't have a rear derailleur hanger. So I could use some comments on what to do. I know Wolftooth makes some stuff to extend the rear derailleur hangers. Can I use that? And this bike doesn't have through axles. It's a quick release axles. So I have to keep that in mind too. Or, I mean, the rear dropout is thick. It's so beefy that I just not even care. All right, that's it. We're at the dead end in a cornfield. We got to turn around. Now it's going to be really hard for me doing single speed into the headwind. Me too. Pee break. Catch y'all later.
All right, we are back at the Zentri Home Studios, surrounded by dogs. They're all underfoot. Move! Golly. Well, I hope you enjoyed that audio. I just finished listening to it, and it was so cool listening to... I'm walking through the kitchen here and grabbing headphones to put on chargers. It was so cool listening to an old school recording out on the road, and those recordings are actually really difficult to make, and I spent years fine-tuning like how to do it. So if it's not perfect, it takes me a while to figure out, and then to get back to doing them again. And then also every time you record, there's the opportunity for a setting to get messed up or something like that. But I had some thoughts to wrap up the show. One, also, if you need coaching, send me an email at texifornia@gmail.com. I think I'm definitely going to do more recordings back on the bike. I keep threatening to do that, and I keep meaning to. And because that was actually really easy to set up and record. And so that's, everything is about, with a full-time job and with training and life and all kinds of crap, everything has to be super easy to do. I can't do like high production value videos. Everything's just got to be raw and minimal editing. And I think that once the audience knows that's part of the show, that's the spirit of the whole thing, is because the important thing is to get in the endurance training, and that it's all right. So anyway, more thoughts on single speeding and that bike. And so I rode with Kai, and we were doing, let's see, he was fully geared, and I actually kept up with him pretty well. And what I did was to go back to something is I'm trying to figure out, like if I'm going to keep this thing single speed or not. But the way today's ride went, I think I might for quite a while, because it was really enjoyable. It is geared to be pretty successful at this rolling prairie, that I ride on around here. And then when you have the occasional hill, it's like, okay, it's some work. But and then when I was going into a headwind, and it was, it kind of sucked because I can't gear down. If I'm riding with somebody else who's faster, well, I just drafted off of Kai, and then we ended up being the same speed anyway. Because my big concern is when you ride single speed and you have friends that aren't, or your family, and you want to ride with them, then you're kind of not able to train with other people, or friends, or family, or whatever you want to do. And the first thing I think of is when I'm single speed, it's like, well, I won't be able to do rides with Kai and be able to keep up. But we did it today, and it was actually a lot of fun. We stayed together the most of the time,
And yeah, so I think single speed has a lot to do with your adaptation, and then you start to get pretty good at it. At one point, Kai tried it in the same gearing as me. He was cursing. He's like, "What the fuck? This is terrible. How do you do this? This sucks," And I was like, "Yeah, well, you get used to it, and then you kind of forget about it." And that was another interesting thing, was like how I just kind of forgot about it, and I guess it's like an adaptation thing where you get decent enough at it where it's not really a concern anymore. And then there is, okay, River, quit scratching. There's this kind of lightness of being, of not having gears to shift, And I was watching videos when I got back, and there was this stuff. I was always watching cycling stuff. And the, what's the Chinese city? But anyway, the big bicycle show. It's like 3-4 days long, going on in China. And so all the journalists and stuff there that are going through stuff, and so much of it was, and I'm all like watching this, but so much of it was about gearing. And this, 13 speed, 14 speed, this derailleur does this electronic, this mechanical, all this other stuff. I'm sitting there watching, I'm like all into it. And then I was like, wait, or you could just not use any of that and just ride single speed. This is not going to be a single speeder podcast. I'll leave that to the real single speeders. But as far as I know, it won't be. But it's just interesting, the adaptation that the human body does. And I was talking with Kai and saying, what's interesting, when he's like, how do you do that? And I said, well, what's interesting is I do work harder to go up hills, but then I get these breaks going downhill, and with aero bars, I can aero tuck, and I don't lose as much time as you think I would, not being able to pedal as fast downhill because I run out of gears. So there's all that. And then the other thing is, like I was mentioning at the end of the biking recording, we did 62 miles, mixed surface, as you could tell. And also in those audio recordings, sometimes I'll drop in a beep, that there's a significant amount of audio dropped out, or we've moved locations or something like that. And sometimes I don't. And so you should just know that if suddenly there's way more, going on that I clip out that either, sounds like garbage, or there's too much wind noise, or, like a long lull, or too long of a lull without talking, or, or something that shouldn't be on the air. And but I do want y'all to hear, what I get all these emails from people that are about, they love the audio, the cars going by, and it makes them feel like they're out on a bike ride. And they can sit there at work and listen to, they feel like they're on a bike ride with a couple of friends, or if it's with just me, so there's that. Before I forget, what's coming up is Kai's doing a race in a week, a mountain bike race. So we'll probably go and do that. And then, and he's going to try to record. We'll see if he gets this recording down, and is able to record a race. And then also, single speed aside, the other reason this bike might not stay single speed, it is such a good bike to upgrade to a full-on gravel bike, because it holds bigger tires, and as a bigger guy, bigger tires are nice. And then also, my current gravel bike, along with not being able to hold very big tires, it has a gearing limitation where, if y'all gonna go scratch your fleas, go somewhere. They don't have fleas. It's got a gearing limitation, and I've asked at the bike shop, if I can do, I would have to switch out so much drivetrain stuff at the bike shop to do a front derailleur on my Vast. I'd have to switch the whole system over to electronic, and that's just so much money. That's money I'd rather spend on Kai and his race bike. Oh, the dogs are roughhousing. Three dogs. They're all pretty big dogs. But River towers over the other two. And then they start arguing, and then they get the zoomies. It's all friendly. One of them will have a toy, and the other ones will pretend like they're mad. But it's a lot of silliness. They do it every night for like half an hour. And then that's Zoe drinking water, and then River scratching his neck. He always manages to hit his tags. Ripple, the Staffy Terrier, is you heard your name? He's the quiet one. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, he's pushing into my neck. Staffies are just ridiculous with being affectionate, but they're the size of a shoebox. Not really. I mean, they're way bigger than that, but they're just solid. And so the amount of weight is just unbelievable. Welcome to the dog show. But the Nishiki, I can put, it originally had a triple front chainring on it because that's the era that it came from. And so I could easily do a double, and with the double chain ring, then I get this massive gearing range. I could even put a triple on it. It would be funny. And with this massive gearing range, and then with bigger tires, all on a bike I just had sitting in the garage, and the geometry's right. Everything's fine on it. So, and it's aluminum, so it's light enough, and it's metal, like I talked about. So it's good for off-road. So I don't really know. I think if I switch it, when I switch it back to being a geared bike and I'm done with it being a single speed, then I'm going to do double chainring on it and be happy with that. And and the other thing is, it's tragically flawed, but in ways that don't really matter. Quick release axles instead of through bolts. What are those called? Dang it. I just remembered just a minute ago I said it. Through axles. Whatever. Anyway, but that doesn't really matter. Through axles are nicer, but they're not that much of an improvement. And then, so I guess it's like, well, then you got to be able to find wheels. Well, these wheels exist out there. There's always specialty wheels that you could get. And how often do you need to buy wheels? And wheels that are older design are less expensive. So anyway, and they make adapters. You can buy adapters to turn through axle wheels into quick release wheels. No big deal. And then it'll work on all your through axle wheels. And then it's rim brake instead of disc brakes. But, we went forever just fine without disc brakes. So it's not that big of a deal. And as a lot of people know, rim brakes have some advantages over disc brakes, where disc brakes, they have to fit in exactly perfectly, and disc brakes are hard to work on, and you can eat through the brake pads, and then you got to use it was a problem for a lot of people every year during the East Texas Showdown, because it's sandy and it rained, so wet sand into your brakes just eats through your brake pads, and then you get like a rotor contamination and stuff like that. So where rim brakes, they don't perform quite as well, but you don't really need for them to perform quite as well in gravel. And in mountain biking, disc brakes are fantastic, but in gravel, you're not really on your brakes that much anyway, compared to mountain biking. And that's where I found the big upgrade was in mountain biking. Disc brakes are fantastic. And I would never go back to rim brakes in mountain biking. But for road and gravel, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And then, so yeah, tire swaps and brake pads and adjusting the brakes and everything is super, super easy with rim brakes. And disc brakes also weigh more, I think, than rim brakes. Rim brakes are just a cable and then the brake, and that's it. So, all right. I got Ripple laying on top of me. All right, are we done with the show? We're going to put this show out. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? You're a big teddy bear of a dog. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh. So, anyway, everybody stay tuned. Yeah, race next weekend. And if you want coaching, I do full distance, long distance, all the distances with a really good attitude and approach to nutrition and pacing. And I really, really enjoy coaching people. And it is $200 a month for full custom coaching, and then $100 a month for just a one-off sport. So if you're just doing like gravel or you're doing just running, something like that, then it's just $100 a month. And we use Training Peaks, and it's fun. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Reach out to me at texafornia@gmail.com. Check out the Instagram. I'm Zen Triathlon on Instagram, Zen and the Art of Endurance, or Zen Endurance on YouTube. And what else are we? Oh, yeah, texafornia@gmail. And if you're listening to this, you're already on the podcast itself, Zen and the Art of Endurance podcast. And everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out. All right, Ripple. We need to go get some milk. You gonna go with me in the car? All right, bye.